If you think you know everything about the FTX collapse, I bet you don't. So in this video, we try to dig deeper to reveal the information that you are unlikely to hear from somewhere else, and it may even shock you. First, I don't claim this to be 100% truth nor 100% fiction, because it's somewhere in between these rumors. But every rumor carries a seed of truth. After all, it's only up to you, believe it or not, okay? So enough said, shall we start? The biggest question so far is, where did the money go?
Where's the money, Lebowski?
Because we all know that billions disappeared in a blink of an eye. So let me briefly recall important facts about the collapse of the largest crypto exchange, FTX. At least $1 billion of client funds disappeared from FTX. Two people said that were close to the company. So according to other sources, the exchange's founder, Sam Bankman-Fried, secretly transferred $10 billion of client funds from FTX to trading company called Bankman-Fried Alameda Research. It said that most of this amount has since disappeared.
Where is it? Where's the rest?
One source put the missing amount at about $1.7 billion. Another one said the gap was between $1 billion and $2 billion. So where's the truth? Although FTX is known to have transferred customers' funds to Alameda, this is the first time that funds have been reported missing here. According to two sources, the financial hole was found in notes of Sam Bankman-Fried, who he shared with other senior executives. According to them, the recordings provided an up-to-date account of the situation at the time. Both sources held senior positions at FTX until recently and said they were briefed on the company's finances by senior staff. Bahamas-based FTX has filed for bankruptcy. A bailout deal with rival exchange Binance has failed, following the biggest cryptocurrency crash in the recent years. In text messages to Reuters, Bankman-Fried said he disagrees with the characterization of $10 billion transfer. "We didn't transfer secretly," he said. "We had confusing internal labeling," he added without elaborating. When asked about the missing funds, Bankman-Fried did not answer. So FTX and Alameda also did not respond to requests or comment. In a tweet, Bankman-Fried said he was piecing together what happened at FTX. "I was shocked to see how things went wrong earlier this week," he wrote. Reuters reported that at the heart of FTX's problem was a loss at Alameda that most FTX executives were just unaware of. The number of customers skyrocketed after Changpeng Zhao, CEO of Binance, said that his exchange will sell its entire stake in the FTX digital token worth at least $580 million due to recent revelations. 4 days prior, news outlet CoinDesk reported that the majority of Alameda's $14.6 billion assets were invested in the token. Bankman-Fried held a meeting with several executives in the Bahamas capital Nassau to calculate how much outside funding he needs to cover the FTX shortfall, two people familiar with FTX finance said. Sam also confirmed to Reuters that the meeting had taken place. According to two people close to FTX company, Bankman-Fried showed several spreadsheets to company's regulatory and legal executives, which showed that FTX moved about $10 billion in clients' funds from FTX to Alameda. The spreadsheets showed how much money FTX loaned to Alameda and what it was used for. The documents showed between $1 billion and $2 billion of those funds were not counted among Alameda's assets, the sources said. These spreadsheets don't indicate where the money was transferred, and sources said they didn't know what became of it. The situation has become piquant, hasn't it? One thing for sure, the money's gone. So it appears Lil Sam tricked everyone. During the subsequent investigation, FTX's legal and financial teams also learned that Bankman-Fried had injected what two people called a backdoor into FTX's accounting system, which was built using custom software. They said the backdoor allowed Bankman-Fried to execute commands that could change the company's financial statement without actually alerting other people, including external auditors. The sources said that the setup meant that $10 billion transfer of funds to Alameda didn't cause FTX compliance or accounting issues. Also, in a text message to Reuters, Bankman-Fried denied implementing a backdoor. Well, you bet it. The US Securities and Exchange Commission, or shortly SEC, is investigating FTX.com's management of customer funds as well as its crypto lending activities, said to Reuters by the source familiar with the investigation. The Justice Department and the Commodity Futures Trading Commission are also investigating. The FTX bankruptcy marked a stunning turnaround for Bankman-Fried. The 30-year-old founded it in 2019 and led it to become one of the largest crypto exchanges, amassing a personal fortune estimated at nearly $17 billion. In January, FTX was valued at $32 billion, with such investors like SoftBank and BlackRock. The crisis caused a stir in the crypto world, and the prices of major coins plummeted. You see, the FTX collapse can be fairly compared to previous major business crises. In my experience, every big fiasco in crypto leads to tighter regulations, and this time was no exception. FTX said it handed over control of the company to John J. Ray III, a restructuring specialist who handled the liquidation of Enron Corp, one of the largest bankruptcies in the history. But the regulator is already closely monitoring the situation. Yes, crypto exchanges can crash. What we see right now is transformation of money. But also, there are some indications that this is not the collapse of the largest exchange, but the successful completion of a startup. If in this story we just remove the word exchange and put startup, then everything will fall into place. The founder of a startup messed up and ran away. So were there any unicorns that lost control? Of course. According to long-term data, 90% of startups die. And actually no one is surprised. That is life. There is one caveat to this story. Fintech startup FTX has been named an exchange. So it doesn't matter what assets were traded there and how much. It's important that the reference was to a certain financial institution, which in theory should be regulated, like NASDAQ or London or any other stock exchange. American regulators are the toughest in the world. So it was the SEC, the US Securities and Exchange Commission, that back in 2017 began to tighten the screws on the free crypto market. And it succeeded. Over the past 5 years, the cryptocurrency market has begun to resemble the market for conventional financial instruments. The people fell for it. Yes, cryptocurrencies have a significant drawback: volatility. But of course, there are financial markets where the volatility is no less. But like they say, no guts, no glory. You see, financial sector has built stock trading for several centuries. So after each crash, it was restored and another crash followed. So the stock market crash is an integral part of the stock market game. With the FTX exchange, as with many billion-dollar crypto stories, there has been a substitution of concepts. The startup posed as a standard financial instrument, remaining at its core an optional, playful, almost calming enterprise, or a scam. Apparently, the founder had and still has powerful patrons. Recall the Theranos case. It was based on the naive faith of Elizabeth Holmes and the wonders of technology, backed up from very beginning of this scam by the authority and money of powerful people. You will be surprised, but Curly Sam found no less powerful patrons. The more information about the FTX collapse was revealed, the more confidence that the investors' funds went to support the Democratic candidates. In this story with the FTX collapse, actually one curious detail was discovered. The exchange collapsed not as a result of the usual scam, but instead was hastily liquidated by the American intelligence services. It is said that it was necessary to cover up the tracks of military aid to Ukraine. It should be also noted that the special services started the whole story with the crypto to divert operations with the so-called black budget into the shadows. You see, in the United States, all military spending is approved by Congress. However, not all real expenses go through Congress. You see, more and more operations are believed to be financed by the drug trade, which is controlled by the Secret Service, also legal sale of weapons through nominees, and other activities prohibited by law. You see, the intelligence services, from the very beginning of their foundation, act in the interests not of their states and citizens, but of international supra-political groups of influence. And therefore, their task is simple: to conceal from the state bodies and regulators the sources of funds and mechanism for their movements. And you see, cryptocurrency is ideal for these purposes, except that today's technology allows you to trace specific transactions. So an analogy arises with the surveillance by the electronic Big Brother. Well, it's not yet possible to track all people by their activity in gadgets, but it's quite possible to monitor a specific person. When it became clear that the Republicans were able to achieve a majority in the lower house, the Democrats became worried. So their main concern is military aid to Ukraine. The Republicans have long been going to start finding out where and to whom the billions of this very aid actually went. So it is assumed that they went on media attacks on Republican candidates, as well as bribing officials and voters, well, which led to falsification of congressional elections. People say that any war started by the Americans should at best enrich the initiators and at worst pay off. So the USA is originally a country of the third estate. Business is above all. Therefore, the adversary, or in the case of a proxy war, the same proxy that is an intermediary, must pay for the war in which the states participate. So where is the help going? So it's easy to guess. The money either does not leave the United States at all or quickly returns there. In the first case, the funds go to think tanks, consulting firms for research of the situation, forecasts, etc. Just hundreds of millions go to the right people in the State Department and other state structures. In the second case, weapons are indeed supplied, but the conditions for the receiving side are onerous. For example, the supply of enriched uranium in return for HIMARS. At the second time, the cost of uranium in such transactions can be much higher than usual. Not only is the illegal circulation of uranium organized, but also significant amounts are accumulating along the entire chain of its illegal sale. So where to store them? The answer is in crypto. Since the amounts are significant, they can be thrown into the crypto market and create this volatility. So today they threw crypto for $500 million, tomorrow they withdrew them. So quotes jumped sharply, and what did you expect? It's crypto. Considering the situation, this rumor took place. The group of Democrats, which is likely to be behind the entire Ukrainian story for the last 8 years, gave the command to cover up the traces and withdraw the money. And that's when the FTX exchange crashed. I'm calling for an audit of funds to Ukraine and to fund and secure our border, Marjorie Greene tweeted. Greene also included in another tweet a link to the Daily Caller, which announced the introduction of the bill in the expanded form. As planned by the Republicans, an audit should be carried out in the part of all military, civilian, and financial assistance provided to Ukraine from the United States under the current president, Joe Biden, the newspaper writes. Besides, the Biden administration had previously requested an additional $37.7 billion for Ukraine, including 21.7 billion for defense and 14.6 billion for Kyiv and humanitarian aid, which was reported by CNBC. Greeny had previously promised that Ukraine would not get a penny. Well, something tells me that her words will remain just words. Of course, the story of Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX doesn't end there, with many new details emerging every week. Will we know the real truth? Who knows, maybe one day. But it might not be needed at all. You see, the facts don't change our minds, and truth is sometimes not even necessary. It's only the reality we agree with. But after all, I promise you the info, I gave it to you. The rest is up to you. One thing for sure, there are a lot more blind spots that we can think of in this FTX case. But what do you think about it? Leave a comment, and thanks for watching.